They will tell you wars are fought with bullets, bombs, and tanks. They will tell you nations rise with courage and fall with fear. They will tell you money is neutral, markets are random, and crises are unpredictable. All of it is a lie. The real war is not fought on battlefields. It is fought in silence, in boardrooms, in vaults, in meetings that last until the dead of night. Men you will never know, whose names never reach the headlines, decide the fate of billions with a single keystroke. Every collapse you have witnessed, every war you were told was necessary, every economic crisis that seemed sudden and unavoidable was not random. It was a move in the oldest, quietest, and most powerful war humanity has ever known, the war for the world's money. And once you understand how deep it runs, you will realize that nothing in your life has ever been as accidental as it seemed. You have been told a simple story. Markets rise and fall naturally. Money is just a tool. Governments are in charge. Crises are unfortunate accidents. But reality is far darker. Money does not follow the world. The world follows money. Consider the financial crises of the last century. Each was different on the surface, different triggers, different headlines, different politicians blamed, but each served the same hidden purpose: to consolidate power, to redistribute wealth, to increase control. Millions lost homes, millions lost jobs, entire economies teetered. Yet the architects of these collapses walked away untouched. No arrests, no headlines, no accountability. This is not failure. This is design, and it has been going on for centuries. The illusion of choice. You think governments control your economy? You think elections and policies determine your life? You think money is just paper, gold, or digital numbers? None of it is true. The truth is simple, yet terrifying. Money is power. Money is influence. Money is obedience. Those who control the creation, flow, and distribution of money control the world. Consider the 2008 crash. Mortgage-backed securities, derivatives, and credit default swaps created an illusion of wealth that vanished overnight. Yet the Federal Reserve, major banks, and investment firms survived. Some even grew stronger. Why? Because the system is not designed to fail the powerful. It is designed to control the rest of us. Every headline, every narrative, every crisis is carefully orchestrated, not for profit alone, but for control. To understand how we arrived here, we must travel back centuries. Long before central banks, stock markets, or digital currencies existed, money was physical: gold, silver, precious metals. Control the gold, control the armies, control the armies, control nations, and you control the world. Gold was heavy, vulnerable, and slow. Transporting it across continents risked storms, theft, and piracy. Then came credit. A promise, a note, a receipt. The first banks learned to lend what they did not physically possess. They created leverage. They created power invisible to the common eye. The Bank of England, founded in 1694, was not designed to serve the people. It was created to fund a government at war, a war it could not finance through taxes alone. This was the birth of modern financial power, institutions capable of creating money, institutions that could lend to governments, institutions that could shape nations without ever sending soldiers to the front lines. By the 18th century, this system had spread across Europe. By the 20th century, it reached America. The Federal Reserve in 1913 would formalize this power on a global scale. Money, once tied to physical commodities, became increasingly abstract. First gold, then bonds, then currency unbacked by any tangible asset. The moment President Nixon severed the dollar from gold in 1971, money became entirely a construct of trust, a digital promise, a ledger controlled by those who already had the power to write it. The consequences of invisible power. When money becomes a tool of control rather than a neutral medium, the world changes. Wars no longer need to be fought with soldiers alone. Debt becomes a weapon. Inflation becomes a weapon. Financial crises become weapons. Countries that refuse to follow the rules of this invisible system face collapse. Citizens pay the price. The architects of the system profit quietly from every failure. By the 20th century, the architecture of control was almost complete. The banks, central banks like the Federal Reserve, the Bank of England, and the European Central Bank, wield immense power. They can create money at will. They decide the cost of borrowing for billions of people. They adjust interest rates, manipulate inflation, and influence global economies without ever asking for approval. The governments appear to hold power, but they rely on debt. Debt issued by the very banks they are supposed to regulate. Debt becomes influence. Influence becomes dependence. Dependence becomes control. The media. Every financial crisis comes with a story. Heroes, villains, causes, solutions. But these narratives are rarely objective. They are crafted, guided, and funded by institutions whose power depends on the outcomes. Wars. Wars are financed not by necessity alone, but by strategic economic design. Governments rarely have enough resources to sustain prolonged conflicts. Debt bridges the gap. Those who lend money profit from both sides, remaining untouchable while nations bleed. Historical examples. World War I. The British and French governments borrowed massive sums from international financiers to sustain the war effort. Debt shaped post-war economies. Nations collapsed under financial strain. Entire political landscapes shifted according to the interests of creditors. The 1929 crash. Excessive credit, speculation, and mismanagement triggered a collapse. Millions lost savings, businesses failed, and governments faltered. Yet the banks that engineered the system survived and adapted. The 2008 crisis. Complex financial instruments masked risk until it was too late. People lost homes, savings, and trust in the system. Financial giants like Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan not only survived, they gained unprecedented influence. Observation. Crises are not accidents. They are carefully timed, leveraged, and executed to maintain control over populations and nations. The architecture of control we have seen so far is only the foundation. In the modern era, the web has expanded, more sophisticated and invisible than ever. Corporations. The largest companies today are more powerful than many nations. Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, BlackRock, and Vanguard wield influence over billions of consumers and trillions in assets. They decide which technologies survive, which narratives dominate, and which markets thrive. Debt as a weapon. Global debt now exceeds $300 trillion, more than 3 times the world's GDP. Debt is not accidental. It is intentional. A debtor is predictable. A debtor can be controlled. A debtor will follow the rules dictated by those who lend the money. Media and digital influence. News cycles move at the speed of emotion. Narratives can be manufactured. Entire populations can be guided without realizing it. Public opinion is shaped by algorithms, echo chambers, and content designed to evoke fear, desire, or loyalty. AI and behavioral analysis. We are entering the first age where algorithms can study human behavior with greater precision than any government or spy ever could. Every click, every purchase, every interaction becomes data. And data is power. Data determines what you see, what you believe, and even how you behave. Globalism, trade alliances, international financial institutions, and transnational corporations now operate beyond the influence of individual nations. Sovereignty is increasingly symbolic. Balance sheets and financial flows determine real power. The modern web of control operates on multiple levels. Financial, who owns the money? Political, who writes the rules? Cultural, who shapes perception? Digital, who monitors behavior? It is a system so vast and interconnected that most people cannot even begin to comprehend it. And yet, it governs every aspect of daily life. The 2008 global financial crisis, Lehman Brothers collapsed, markets plummeted, millions lost jobs and homes. Yet banks like Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan expanded their influence, acquiring competitors, consolidating power, and shaping post-crisis regulations. The public suffered. The architects profited. The 2020 pandemic crash. Governments printed trillions of dollars in stimulus. Central banks lowered interest rates to near zero. Corporate giants received lifelines while small businesses collapsed. The public believed the crisis was a biological disaster. In reality, it was amplified and leveraged for financial control. The rise of tech monopolies. Companies like Facebook, Google, and Amazon use algorithms to manipulate attention, consumer behavior, political opinion. Even social movements can be influenced through digital platforms. Power today is not about armies. It is about influence over perception and access to capital. History repeats, but modern power is subtler, faster, and more pervasive. The same principles that created wealth and influence centuries ago remain. Leverage, debt, control of currency, strategic influence, but the battlefield has evolved. Global corporations as states. Some corporations surpass countries in GDP and influence. BlackRock manages assets exceeding the GDP of most nations. Amazon and Apple influence markets and political decisions worldwide. Debt as a global tool. Countries borrow trillions in ways they cannot repay. Debt is intentionally unmanageable, creating dependence on lenders. Predictable obedience is the reward for compliance. Collapse is the penalty for resistance. Media and narrative control. Global media shapes perception of events, crises, and crises management. Stories are controlled. Emotional responses are managed. The public sees chaos, but rarely sees the architects behind it: AI and surveillance. Digital platforms monitor behavior continuously. Algorithms detect tendencies, manipulate perception, and predict reactions. Behavioral economics and data-driven influence are modern instruments of control as powerful as armies. Global networks. Institutions like the IMF, World Bank, BIS, and multinational corporations coordinate influence globally. Decisions made in New York, London, and Basel ripple worldwide. National sovereignty is increasingly secondary to the movement of money and capital. In essence, the war for the world's money is alive, thriving, and invisible. It is a war fought not with bombs, but with data, credit, and perception. It is a war that shapes your life, whether you see it or not. So, what does this mean for you? It means the world you were raised to believe in, the world of fairness, democracy, and choice, was only a surface map. Beneath it lies a hidden architecture of power, built over centuries, honed for efficiency, and preserved with precision. This system is not inherently evil. It is merely amoral. It responds to incentives. It exploits weaknesses. It consolidates power. Yet, understanding this truth is not a burden, it is liberation. When you see the architecture, you cannot be easily deceived. You recognize the patterns. You see the strings that manipulate societies. You awaken to reality. The war for money continues, but awareness gives you agency. Because the first step toward freedom is understanding the game. The second is knowing the rules. The third is choosing not to play blindly. Money was never paper. It was never gold. It was never just numbers on a screen. Money is obedience. Money is belief. Money is the story the powerful tell the world, and the world accepts without question. And here is the truth they hope you never discover. If money is a story, someone is writing it. Someone is deciding what is valuable, what is urgent, and what is permitted. And they are doing it far above the reach of ordinary citizens. Ask yourself, who holds the pen? Who decides what crises are necessary? What debts must be repaid? What markets must survive? The answer is hidden, but not unknowable.